life is perfect, can be perfect, or should be perfect. Because I think these challenges are those obstacles, those stumbling blocks that help us, kind of look at our situation, look at what we are not doing right in our life, and, why we are facing that particular roadblock, and how do we maneuver that and, go beyond it. It is only after my dad passed away that I realized what a strong, determined, and courageous woman my mother was. No matter what you do, what career you pick up, what passion you have to earn your own money. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special solo episode of the About Her show. I am Sangeeta Relan, and today I am stepping into the hot seat. In this episode, I'll be answering all those questions that I ask my amazing guests each week, but this time it's going to be all about me. I thought it would be fun and personal to give you a behind the scenes look into my journey, my podcasting experience, and my thoughts on gender equality, empowerment, and more. So, if you've ever wondered about my experience, my views, or how I have come to where I am today, this episode is just for you. So, let me get started with the first question that I ask my guests, which is to tell me about their early days, their journey, and how they have come to where they are today. So, if I have to go back into my journey, well, I'd like to tell you that my parents were like my father was a civil servant, my mother was an educationist, and I'm the youngest of three siblings. Now, what I remember about my growing up days was that in our household, there was a lot of attention that was paid to education, academics. And it was not only about, going to school or college and studying hard and doing well. That was one part. But there was a lot of emphasis on overall education in the sense that, conversations on the dining table about the current politics, about relationships, about people, about habits, all that was very, very normal. And of course, we had to work very hard. And I think those are some of the values which I carry till today, which is hard work, dedication, consistently knowing what you're doing, why you are doing. All that was impressed upon us. And it wasn't only this, there was a lot of attention which was paid to extracurricular activities. I mean, I remember at some point in time in my childhood, my parents discovered that I could sing. So they really encouraged me to pursue that. So whether it was in school or it was, where we lived, they would push me, to take part in singing competitions and even sing otherwise. And the result was that I think I developed, that hobby. And in fact, I went on to sing, at the All India Radio a couple of times. Then I was also a keen debater with my parents, escorting me to various debating competitions, encouraging me, helping me write my speeches, listen to me, all that, and of course, reading. That was a very, very critical part of my growing up years. I mean, we were a household where, everyone was reading something or the other all the time. And my father had a beautiful library. And in fact, I do have some of his books even now. So all this, and of course, sports. I was in the, school volleyball team, tennis team. So it was a very, very holistic and how should I say, a very, a kind of an upbringing that gave us a very solid foundation. Values, ethics, morals, those were really, really grounded into us. And I think all these things, have held me in good stead till now and continue to do so. And even when it came to career choices, I remember when I was in grade 10, my dad gave me the option. He said, it's your life. You can, chart the way you want to. I mean, if you want to have a career, then I would like you to focus only on that and focus about and forget about, learning how to cook and all, because all those things you'll pick up over time. But if getting married is your, dream and you don't want to do anything else, then maybe you should focus on that. So the decision was left to us, but it was after we were explained the pros and cons of every situation. So yeah, like I said, a very, very strong and how should I say, a balanced upbringing is what we were given. And then, of course, the next question that I ask my, guest is the challenges that they have faced in life, and if some of those challenges, especially the women, think that they have to do with their gender. Again, if I were to look back, I think challenges, first of all, I view them as opportunities for growth. Nobody's life is perfect, can be perfect, or should be perfect. Because I think these challenges are those obstacles, those stumbling blocks that help us, kind of look at our situation, look at what we are not doing right in our life, and, why we are facing that particular roadblock, and how do we maneuver that and, go beyond it. So, personally, yes, I think my first biggest challenge or the blow that I faced was when I was all of 19 when I lost my father. Now, that was, like I said, a big blow for me because, being the youngest in the house, I was extremely close to him. He was my world and beyond. And when he went away, and which to, suddenly, it was as though, my world had fallen apart. I was shattered and I didn't know how I would be able to function. Of course, function I did with the support of my siblings and my mother. And here, I need to talk about my mother. It is only after my dad passed away that I realized what a strong, determined, and courageous woman my mother was. She was like a lioness whose only aim at that point was to protect me and make sure that not only did I, complete my education in what was in her scheme of things, but also become financially independent. And she was very clear. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on her from society, from family to get me married as quickly as possible, for whatever reasons, but she was very clear. She wanted me to become financially independent. So not only did she ensure that I complete my graduation, my master's, and my MPhil until the time that I didn't get a job, she would not sit still. She did not sit still. I remember some of my younger cousins getting married and, people passing snide remarks about this, that, or the other, but she just did not budge. And am I grateful to her for this? Today, whatever I am, whatever I'm doing, this independence of mind, thought, all this is courtesy her because not only did I become financially independent, but I imbibed so much from her. How to kind of stand up to a tough situation. I mean, importance to relationships, family, all these things, they became very clear to me at that during those trying times, during those trying days. And in fact, one thing which I learned from my mother was, and which I still, kind of hold very close to my heart, is that in life, you should know which team you're batting for. So if you have family, if you have friends, stick to them. They may make mistakes, they may do something wrong, but please remember, they are your family. So you have to stick to them, you have to be with them. So that was, of course, the initial challenge. And then I got married. And, usually what happens with most working women in our society, juggling between my personal and professional roles and responsibilities, raising my sons, looking after the house, entertaining, socializing, all of that, caregiving, all that was part and parcel of my life. My husband was, in the corporate world and a very, very demanding job. So it was very challenging for me to initially come to terms to how to juggle these various responsibilities. It wasn't easy, but I think somewhere not only did I learn, but then I also learned what not to do and how to kind of express myself if I couldn't do something. Then, of course, my personal challenges continued. When I was pregnant with my second son, I lost my mother, which was again like, a bolt from the blue. It took me a very long time to get over that because, parents are always parents. And no matter how old you are, you always need them. And well, with her gone, we were just the three of us. And then I lost my brother as well. So life has been, I've seen the ups and downs. But like I said, every down teaches you something. And what I have figured is that in life you have to remember that if there is a down, there is going to be an up as well, and vice versa. Now, when it comes to professional challenges, well, since I'm part of the academia, I did not really face too many gender related issues, apart from these snide remarks here and there that, like I believe in taking early morning classes because because I believe that, those are the times when I'm very productive. I can finish that part of my work and get back to whatever else, in life I have to do. If earlier it was about my children and being around when they came back from school, today it is about all the other things like I do, whether it is my podcast or it's my writing or it's my, doctorate. So, of course, there are men, in my colleagues who would always say, not only about me, but most women, that, oh, these women, they will finish their classes and go back and they will not sit in the staff room to do anything else. And my question to them would always be, why should I sit in the staff room and do nothing? I mean, if I finished all my work, which is, maybe teaching or some admin work or whatever else I needed to do, if I have done that, then why should I sit there with that, cup of tea and some samosa and do what? I mean, I would always tell them that you have a wife back home who's taking care of everything while I have to go back home and do exactly that. So when you know this is what my rest of the day looks like, how can you question and how can you, make these kind of comments? But then, it has happened and I have, answered it back. I mean, I don't take these kind of things lying down. Then there have been instances, of course, where, when my husband was, he had to move overseas for work. There were a lot of people who told me that he's in such a senior position. What are you doing here? You don't earn as much. Why don't you go and, just kind of quit and go? And I would look at them and wonder, do you realize how hard I have worked to be where I am today? How much I love what I'm doing? It is not about the money, and you don't even know how much I earn. So how can you say that? And would you have said the same thing had the tables been turned? So, these kind of challenges one has faced. And of course, things like, not feeling safe going late at night, even now at this age, these are all challenges, gender related, that I have faced. And I think that is, I mean, it was all these things together that made me start doing what I'm currently doing, which is, of course, with my About Her platform. All right. Now, moving on to the next question, which I ask my guests, which is, who has been their mentor or guide or, role model? Well, of course, goes without saying that my first role model was my mother. And I still, look up to her. I mean, she's no longer there, but whenever I'm in a trying kind of a situation, I try and imagine what she would have done had she been in my shoes. And believe me, I get a lot of inspiration from that. I mean, how that woman stood up not only when my dad passed away, but even before that. She was one of the very, very few women from her city who not only decided to, pursue her higher studies, but she also started teaching in a college, and living in a, PG away from her parents was something that she did in the early 50s. And I'm sure you understand that that required a lot of courage. But then even after she got married, my parents had a beautiful relationship where, for the first almost 7, 8 years, they lived apart. And while my dad was busy with his career, my mother was building her own. My, siblings came into the world, but my maternal grandmother was there. So, she was a woman who knew what she wanted to do. And then eventually she did quit. And that too, when she realized that it was not fair, to burden her mother with the responsibility of her children. So that strong woman has been my role model, has always inspired me. Other than that, if I come to the present, then all these amazing women who I've had on my podcast, these women who have moved countries to be with the, men who they love, these women who've decided to go back to studying, after a gap of 20, 30 years, these women who decided to start working after a gap, these women who decided to build their lives after they lost their husbands, or they got a divorce, or they decided to, switch careers from corporate to something else. These are such amazing stories. And you realize that, you know, every woman has a story. And if you have a mind that is open and receptive, you will learn from them. You will understand what there is to gain from each story. So, yes, I've had so many role models. All right. And then there comes the next question, which is I always ask my guests, depending on what they do, to share 3 tips which, are top of their mind when if they have to guide someone on becoming, a good, corporate professional or an entrepreneur or lawyer or whatever it is that they do. So in my case, I would think it's an educator. And in fact, everything that I do, whether it's writing or it is podcasting or it is teaching, I think there are three tips that I would like to share with everyone. First is, I think it is very essential to know why you're doing something. If I'm teaching, then my why has to be very clear. I know I'm absolutely passionate about imparting knowledge. So, knowing that why, I think, gives me a lot of motivation, gives me that drive to excel in what I do. And same goes for my writing and podcasting. So, why am I doing it? The purpose has to be very clear. Then I have to be ready to put in the hard work. So believe me, I still prepare my lectures. I prepare for my podcasts. I research my guests. All of that, I do that. And lastly, you should be able to communicate to the person, whoever you are addressing. So if I am teaching my students, I may be having a lot of knowledge. I may be, the cat's whiskers when it comes to the subject that I'm teaching. But if I'm not able to put it across, if I'm not able to communicate to them what I want to say, then it's absolutely useless. So I think these things, that knowing your why, putting in the hard work and being able to communicate. And one more thing, I think dedication and consistency is also required in whatever you do. It cannot be a flash in the pan kind of a thing, that today, okay, I feel, like it, so I will do it. And tomorrow I don't, so I won't. It has to be done consistently. Hard work cannot be at, your whims or fancies. Okay. Then we move on to the next question, which is the balance between personal and professional lives. I mean, I would not like it to call it a balance. I would like to call it integration. Now, when you, as a woman, or I guess it holds true for everyone, that when you decide to start working, you have to remember that your work life or your professional life is as much a part of you as your family or your personal life. So I don't think there is any need to balance. You just have to believe that these are two sides to your life, and they have to be integrated. If your personal life is important, then your professional life is equally important. Now, how do you do it? So I have made some very clear rules, and believe me, they haven't come to me easily. It's not that, the day I decided to, start working, that was the day when all this clarity and thought came to me. No, it didn't. It's been a journey. But now, when I've reached this certain position in my life, I think I can kind of give you a recap of how I try to integrate these two sides. One is that I'm very clear about my boundaries. So if I know that, I'm working right now, then I am working. And if I am with my family or I'm spending time, I know, that this is what I have to do. So the ability to say no to the other side if it's not required, then I think that is the first thing. So having your boundaries in place. But having said that, your ability to prioritize is equally important. Today may be a Sunday, but if I've got work to do, work related to my podcast or to my teaching or whatever, then I have to do it. I can't say that today is a Sunday, so I have to spend this time with my family and sorry, I have no time for work. No, it doesn't work like that. So being able to prioritize what is important on a particular day, I think we need to figure that out. After that, of course, your boundaries can come into place. Then I've also learned to delegate. There was a time when I used to believe that I'm some superwoman who can do everything. I can go teach, I can go cook, I can look after my children, I can take them to their classes, I can do everything. But somewhere along the line, I realized I cannot and I should not. I'm not, there is no such thing as super anyone. So I'm not a superwoman. So I stopped doing that and I started not only saying no to a lot of things, but I also started delegating. So I would really suggest women, if you have the ability, if you can hire people to do stuff for you, please do that and give it to them. You can't do everything. So don't even try. So all these kinds of things, which is whether it's drawing boundaries, it's prioritizing, or it is learning to say no or delegating, I've done all this. And plus one more thing, organizing. I'm a very listicle person. Every night before I go to sleep, I make a list of all the things that I have to do the following day. Generally, there are about 8 to 10 things. I try my best to, tick them off. But if at the end of the day, I realize that I wasn't able to do some of those, though I tried, then I just let it be. I don't kill myself over the fact that, oh my God, you were supposed to do it, you didn't do it. It's okay. You tried hard. If you can stand in front of a mirror and say, look at yourself and say that I tried, but I couldn't do it, then it's okay. It's fine. There is another day, you will get another chance. So just go right ahead and take that chance. Okay. Now, what about setbacks in life? How do we deal with setbacks? So, I personally feel that setbacks, disappointments are a part and parcel of life. Like challenges, they are there to teach you a lesson, to tell you how to cope better. And I also believe that sometimes, the same situation keeps repeating itself to us. The same kind of circumstances keep coming back to us. You know why? Because you haven't learned how to deal with them. So if you see that a pattern is being repeated in your life, I think the first lesson to learn is that you didn't deal with it rightly in the first instance. So now learn how to deal with it. So when I face a setback, first of all, I'm okay with it. I mean, of course, if it's really something very bad, I will, give vent to my tears or to my emotions. All that is fine, which is also very important because you have to accept that something is not going right. Don't try to brush it under the carpet. It is a fact, so accept it. Okay. I've accepted it. Now, what do I do? Should I keep wallowing in self pity, or should I try to, see how I can maneuver it or how I can get past it? I think then that is the next thing. Accept it, learn to deal with it, find a way out, whether it is by talking to someone, whether it is by, referring to something, whatever it is. Remember that you can deal with it and be like, one of those hit me kind of toys. You push them back and they come back. So, yes, the setback was there. It was an opportunity for me to grow. I have learned from it and now I will move on. That is, I think, the way we should all deal with setbacks. But of course, it doesn't always happen, but we should keep this in mind. Okay. Then comes my piece of advice to the young girls of today. Now, the first and foremost thing which I would like to say, apart from everything else, which all my guests have always said, I think financial independence, no matter what you do, what career you pick up, what passion you have to earn your own money. I think this is something which every girl, no matter what her background, cultural, social, maybe, it does not matter. You have to earn your own money. Your dad could be rolling in millions. Your husband may be the most loving guy on this planet. You may have a doting brother, but girls, your money is your money. Till the time you've not tasted blood, you will not understand what I'm saying. So please go taste it. Because when you're financially independent, you get to make choices in life. You get the freedom to do what you want to do. You want to buy a bag. You want to buy a book. You want to spend on your mom. You want to spend on a social agenda, whatever it may be. You don't have to ask. You don't have to explain. And believe me, when you have that kind of a freedom in life, you don't need anybody else. You don't need anything else. Because I think the most critical thing which holds us women back is because we are dependent on others for money. We have to ask people to give us money. Don't do that. Nowadays, whereas education is concerned, most girls are fairly well educated. Also very, very aware because there's so much happening around. So when you're watching Insta, whatever you're doing, you do get to know what's happening in the world around us. So look inside you, discover your passion, discover your interest. You're academically bright, very good. You're not, it's okay. You may be having something that you must be having something that you like. So discover that, work on it, and earn your money, earn your bucks. I think this is the only piece of advice that I would like to give girls. And once you start earning money, if I may extend, try to grow your money, build your own wealth. Tomorrow, if you want to buy a private plane, you should be able to. So learn how to invest. Don't give in to this belief which is there in our society that, women cannot understand money matters. Women don't understand how to invest. Yes, you can. You've got a brain. Please make use of it and start using it in that direction. Okay, moving on. What are the challenges that women continue to face? Well, yes, like I always say, we've really progressed when it comes to, helping women rise up, fight for their rights, do the things that they want to do. Yet, there are many, many areas where women are still lagging behind. So, to my mind, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that though we have progressed so much, women are still not safe and secure in our society. We don't have the freedom to step out of the house when we want to, even if it's late at night, wearing what we want to do. Why? Why is it that I cannot wear the clothes of my choice? Why is it that I cannot step out of the house when I want to? This, I think, affects every woman, no matter which strata she belongs to. Then, if you look around, then if I look at the corporate world, things like gender pay parity. Why is it that for the same job, women are paid less? And believe me, there are still instances out there. Then, when a girl decides to get married, why is she suddenly looked at as someone who's not going to be productive? A man is also getting married. The girl is getting married to a man. Why is he not looked at in the same with the same eyes? Why is it that you start doubting, you start questioning and feeling that she will not be able to give her 100%? If you think that she's going to have additional roles and responsibilities, then please make sure that you provide her with the facilities. Companies, organizations with the kind of resources that they have at their disposal can do a lot towards this. So I think they need to step up. Then some of my women entrepreneurs have also pointed out that, when they go out to talk to people about, their businesses and collaborations and what have you, and they have a male partner with them, when it comes to money matters, the third party will look at the male. Why? If the woman has started a business, she very well knows what she's doing. So why can't you talk to her? Why don't you take her seriously? So I feel, of course, there are many, many more areas where women still have a long way to go, but these are some which really, really bother me. But having said that, I feel that yes, we are making strides in the right direction, and hopefully we should get to some semblance of equality in the society when it comes to genders. And yes, I do believe platforms like About Her, like, She the People, there are so many of them, Sheroes, there are so many out there. I think these platforms do make a difference when it helps, when it comes to women raising their voices or talking about their rights. Because these are the platforms where we are having these conversations, where we are talking about issues which bother women. These are safe places where we can talk about it. So when we start having the conversations, in a sense, we are accepting and acknowledging that these issues exist. And believe me, a conversation is the first point. It's only after that, when with these conversations, you spread awareness, you expose people to their existence, you make them not only understand, but recognize and acknowledge that these issues exist. That is when the change that we want to see in the society will come. Otherwise, it won't. So yes, I think these platforms should be encouraged, and, all these ideas of sisterhood and all these, they need to be acknowledged and they need to be encouraged. Okay. Then I come to the question which I ask is about the mental health of women. Now, while I agree that mental health doesn't have anything to do with gender, men are equally affected. And in fact, I have seen that men, because of, the way they have been raised, always men have to be, have to bottle up their emotions. They cannot cry in public. They cannot, express their emotions that easily. So because of that, men face a lot of issues related to mental health. But since we're talking about women, I think when it comes to mental health issues, women, first of all, have to stop normalizing it. Things like postpartum depression, issues related to menopause, issues related to becoming pregnant. When you become pregnant, it's like some living being has taken over you, and it can take quite a while to get used to it. Getting into relationships. So all these issues can cause you stress, balancing your work and your personal life. So first of all, acknowledge that there are these issues. Don't normalize them. And this is especially true of women who've already kind of faced it. Don't say that I did it. Don't tell a younger woman that I did it, you can also do it. No, you did it because you didn't know any better. Don't tell the younger woman to do it too. Ask her to seek help, to find out how she can relieve herself from that issue. And if she needs to see a counselor, if she needs to see a therapist, normalize that. Don't normalize the issue, normalize the way to deal with this issue. So I think this is something which is, this ball is very much in the court of women. And it is only when we start taking care of ourselves that other people, men, they will understand and they will start taking care. Believe me, they have a lot to fight and battle with every day. So our issues are our issues. First of all, we have to accept them and then acknowledge and then do something about it. And that's how the other person will also understand that these issues are for real. Okay. Then comes my question on midlife rebooting. I ask my guests about what they feel when, they look around us and find that, look around them and find that, a lot of people are switching professions or adding on vocations to their already existing profession. Well, I have done that. So what made me do it? Well, I'd been teaching for 20 odd years when my elder son, he had to go to the US for his undergrad. And it was at that time that my husband also moved overseas. So, I had a lot of free time. Now, I did not know what to do with it. There was only, that much socializing, that much of catching up with friends that I could do or reading. So I was, at a loss. And that's when my son suggested that, Mom, since you write so well, why don't you do something about it? So, well, that planted that seed in me, and I started looking for ways and means to not only write. Of course, that was easy, but my thing was that I don't want to write and keep that piece of writing with myself. I want to be able to see it somewhere, and who's going to publish what I write? You are plagued by that self-doubt initially because you don't know whether what you're writing is going to be accepted, or what is it going to be like. So therefore I started blogging. I mean, I figured how to set up our website. And of course, in that, my nephew also played a very, very integral role. And that is when I took on this extra in my life. And believe me, this rebooting that I did, it, I think, just kind of made me more alive. To start doing it, I had to read up, I had to learn. I have not been very, technologically savvy in my life, but when I started, blogging, and now, of course, I have, not only a fabulously running website, but my social media, all those platforms I handle myself. So all this I have learned, and while I'm doing what I'm passionate about, whether it is podcasting or it is writing or it is interacting with other people, I have, I think, enriched my life. I have made myself technologically savvy. I've made myself a better person. And I am, doing that, I'm also pursuing my passion. So if I were to look back on Sangeeta of, say, 20 years ago, I think I'm a much better person today because I'm so evolved. And I firmly believe that growth and evolution has to be a part of every individual's life. You have to grow. You cannot, you're not a fossil. You can't say that I can't change. I've been doing this for so many years. I can't. Yes, you can. It's all in the mind. It's all about your attitude. If you are flexible, you're open, you can do anything. The world is indeed your oyster. So I'm all for midlife rebooting, nurturing yourself, doing things that you want, enriching your life. Go for it, people. And finally, what are my future aspirations? Well, of course, to continue to grow and evolve the way I have been doing, making my platform bigger, better, reaching out to as many women as possible, because that's the purpose of this. I want to make a difference. And if that involves, maybe having a website that is equally functional in Hindi so that I can reach more women, so be it. Whether it is learning how to automate my podcast, how to make my teaching better, everything like that. I want to do it. And believe me, I will do it. And of course, family, I want to see my boys settled in their professions, whatever they are doing, happy, having their families. So all that is definitely there. So I think this is what it is as far as my future looks like. And so I think that's about it. So thank you very much for tuning in to this solo episode of the About Her show. It's been an absolute joy sharing my thoughts and experiences with you, and I hope I gave you a deeper insight into my journey and the heart behind this podcast. I'd love to hear your feedback. What resonated with you the most? Feel free to reach out on Instagram or any other social media handle and let me know. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps us grow and reach more people and amazing, amazing listeners like you. Stay tuned for more incredible stories from our upcoming guests. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep empowering yourself and others. See you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.